Hello and welcome back to the Creating Value in Schools podcast with me, Liz Worthen, where we talk all things sustainability. And today I'm welcoming back the wonderful Helen Burge and Emma Gray, school business leadership champions, for another Unbound discussion. I'm looking forward to hearing about the challenges and insights they've been coming across this term. But I think a good place to start is the latest School Business Professionals survey, which gives us a sense of the current roles of school business managers and professionals and leaders, their position within their setting, and the kinds of decision making they're getting involved in. So, was there anything that particularly surprised you in it? Emma, do you want to kick off?
Yes, I was most surprised about the school business leaders who felt that income generation was their responsibility or their sole responsibility. That seemed really weird to me because it's got to be a shared responsibility amongst everybody in the school. And I would include all the stakeholders, trustees or governors, staff, and anybody concerned. The whole community should be advocating for the school and the income and making sure that they're getting the full amount. The school business leader is responsible for checking that the income they're expecting is being received. I grant that. But to say I'm responsible for income generation in its totality was surprising for me.
It's a big pressure, isn't it, just to put on one person? We had Justin Smith talking on the podcast a while back about optimism and opportunity. And I know he's very much of the view it's about an income generation culture. It's something that you want students getting involved in it, teachers, staff. And yes, you want that buy-in, that leadership from the top governors and trustees.
I wonder though, Emma, where there's a bit of confusion about what income generation means. Maybe a school business leader feels that because they're creating the budget and they are ensuring, like you're saying, that they're getting the right money in from government because of their pupil numbers, whether they're thinking that's their responsibility. And we're thinking of it as a bigger piece, which is that additional income that can be generated through lettings and grant applications and things like that. And I do wonder whether that aspect does come under the SBL's role. Also, it might be an appraisal target, or that they are desperately trying to generate that additional bit of income through a project that they know is going to have a transformative effect within their school. When I was a school business leader, I felt that it was my responsibility to generate the additional income to do those nice to have projects. I didn't think it was my sole responsibility to generate all of the income. I think, does that make sense? The two different approaches. I definitely did always check my census and make sure that our pupil numbers were correct. I also think my opinion about income generation is that it's something that doesn't get to the top of the list enough. There should be a strong value associated with it amongst the senior leaders in your school, and the value that can be created, not just financial, but time and reputation. And I just feel that it is an area for development. I know that Justin is going to be doing some wonderful work. He's doing a master's at the moment, and he is absolutely passionate about income generation. We know that already, but also he's looking at the culture and leadership piece around it. And I think that could be really interesting.
One of the benchmarks that I use as an SRMA when I go into schools is that income generation or self-generated income.
Yes.
The benchmark is 6 to 10% of total revenue income, which is actually quite a lot of money. And I think schools are always taken aback by what the benchmark is. And if you imagine that this benchmark is set from experience of schools across the country, and there are obviously going to be some schools who are better at generating that additional income. But if every school sees their self-generated income, which is everything that is not grant income or high needs income, everything else, so that includes catering and lettings and donations, all exams income, all the other things, little bits that school gets in, that should be about 6 to 10% of your total revenue income, which per pupil is quite a lot of money. And then, as Helen said, more and more schools now are putting an amount of income generation almost as an aspirational target onto performance appraisals, so that you can say, well, I aspire to raise an amount of money, and it can be everybody has that responsibility to increase income in the school. And people look a little bit aghast because Helen's right, it's often seen as the last job to do. But actually, when you think of all of those really nice things that we'd like to have in schools, which we just cannot afford, if you've got that sort of aspirational target, if it is in your head that you do need to do something, then it does keep it more to the forefront, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you, Emma. I'd also, sorry, Liz, I'm going to carry on about this income generation piece now, because I feel that it is tricky to apply for grants and there's hoops that you have to jump through sometimes. But I think if schools have a real clarity about what their nice to have or their social value projects are, so I'm going to link this in again to sustainability, funnily enough, that you can then, if you've got that clarity about what it is you want to develop in the next 3 to 5 years, it doesn't have to be in this academic year, that you would then be able to spot where there's a grant opportunity or where there's an opportunity to work closely with a supplier. And also, I think some governors might, if they're working for a large organisation, they're given time, aren't they, to give back into the community. So it might be that you could tap into them, or it might be that you tap into someone who's really good at writing concisely and can put really good grant applications together. But you have to have that strategic vision, first of all, about what that social value or what that nice to have project is.
And so often, if it is, oh, we actually want to improve our site, we want to plant more trees. It might be that your local authority has got a tree scheme. And so actually you might be able to get some of those things for free. And then if you can get one of your local suppliers to support you with time, I mean, I know it might not help your 6 to 10% of total revenue income, but I would say you can also see income generation in ways of people giving their time, people volunteering for you. All of those things actually are helping you contribute towards those goals.
Actually, Liz, I think you should record time. I think we've all got a daily rate and a value. And I think that you could, if you've had 2 days worth of 3 people doing something, you should record that as part of your income generation goals.
Excellent. And something that surprised me perhaps still was how many, I think something like a third of primary school business managers aren't on the senior leadership team. And the number who aren't involved in all of the staff deployment decisions. I think again, it was something like about 20% of primary business leaders said they're involved in all staff deployment discussions and decisions. And I was like, really?
I don't know whether Emma wants to talk about SRMA and ICFP and how important it is that an SBL is involved in those. It's the business case even before the appointment, isn't it, of those roles, and what your staffing structure is going to look like this year and whether you can afford it again next year.
Yeah, absolutely. That was my feeling. Like you can't, if you're not involved in those discussions, then how can you be doing your integrated curriculum finance planning? So yeah, Emma.
I could talk about it forever, but I think there's often some confusion about what being on the SLT looks like. If you are just bowling along to a meeting once a week and you say, right, that means I'm on the SLT, then that's not really the point of it, just going along to the meeting. I thought for a long time it was, but actually what's more important is that you are contributing to the decision making. And that looks different in different schools. As far as staff deployment goes, then every school business leader, and I'm going to say this is a sweeping statement, get yourself understanding ICFP, whatever size or setting your school is, understand the metrics, and then you will have to be part of the conversation because you are the one that holds that magic key between finance and curriculum and what's affordable and what isn't affordable. And you can be the one that's supporting that decision making at trustee level and governance level and executive level or head teacher level. The whole leadership will be looking to you to support the decision making with your ICFP knowledge.
So for those who want to know more about it or want the refresher, is there training available for SBPs on the integrated curriculum finance planning?
I wish there was more. Yes, I'd like there to be more training out there. There are lots of places you can get it. I think you have to be quite careful about what you're getting because it's different depending on secondary, primary, special. They all have nuance and you need to be mindful of how it sits in your role. But it's certainly worth reaching out to find out where it is. You can generally see ICFP talks or delivery at conferences. Local ASBMs will often have something about ICFP because it's becoming more and more important that everybody understands not only what the calculations and the metrics are, but what they mean and how they support decision making. Just have a look and see what is out there. Ask school business leaders who are in a similar setting to you where they've got some support from. And then worst comes to worst, drop me a DM and I'll see if I can find you some.
And I think also it's having a trainer who would then be able to provide follow-up, that contact and build a relationship with, isn't it? And to understand, I've done this, I think it says this, what do you think? That's the level of support we're probably needing at the moment. And that confidence building will come from that.
Enjoying the podcast? Hit follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. It will help other educators discover us too. Now back to the show.
Quite often used with ICFP is "Do you see what I see?" which always is a Christmassy song, isn't it? Or "Do you hear what I hear?" I think it's a song. It always makes me think of Christmas whenever I think about it because it explains ICFP in a strapline. Are we all looking at the same information here? And are we looking at information that is benchmarkable against other schools? Are we looking at information that we can really use to make sure we are running an affordable curriculum with an affordable staffing structure? So do you see what I see? That's something to remember. And if we may bring it round to the SBL retreat, we are having an ICFP session within that. It can be as complex and as detailed as you would like it to be. So we will find out what sort of level people are at and then deliver something that suits the audience.
Perfect. That's right. Because, having a chance to meet with other people and talk, compare experiences is so important, isn't it? So, tell us, when is the SBL retreat happening and how do people get involved?
It's Thursday the 18th and Friday the 19th of June 2026. It's at an absolutely stunning venue called the Royal Agricultural University in Cirencester.
And the reason I looked at this venue and thought, oh my gosh, Helen would be blown away because it's out in the countryside. They're doing lots of sustainability work. So they've got things like zero dig areas happening and they're doing water sustainability. So there's lots and lots going on there from a sustainability point of view. And then if you add in the opportunities that we've got to talk about risk management, to talk about ICFP, to talk about what's changing on the finances for next year, how are we developing school business leaders, not only ourselves, but the school business leaders who surround us? I'm a really strong advocate that if you've got to a position of a CFO or CFOO or somebody, or a school business leader or a big trust, then do not sit in isolation. You need to be supporting the people who are around you, who are looking for ways to develop their career. And even if you're just mentoring one person to develop. Anyway, so we're also doing things like yoga. We've got an evening meal. There is like a games room where we hope to have lots of fun in the evening. We don't talk about alcohol, of course. There won't be any of that. So after all the learning, there is going to be an opportunity to chill and enjoy and just talk, because we met on Monday, didn't we? And there were 4 of us there, and it was absolutely, I came away buzzing. Just in a conversation, a couple of hours having a conversation. What would we do about this? How would we solve that? What challenges are we facing?
Well, we've called it Reflect, Restore and Reconnect, haven't we? So it's reconnect with your network, have the opportunity to reflect on your successes and maybe your challenges, but within the safety of your network around you to support you. And then maybe to restore a bit of faith in what you're doing and the confidence, and give you back some of that, oomph that you might have lost by term 5.
Because, being a school business leader can be a bit of a tough, lonely gig, can't it? So I think one of the other things you've been focused on doing this term is working to the launch of the SBL Support Hub. And just to note, listeners can find links to information about the SBL Support Hub, the retreat, the School Business Professional Survey, and other things we've been talking about in the show notes. So tell us a bit about why that matters and what it is you want that to be for people. Helen, do you want to start?
Oh, thank you, Liz. Yeah, so SBL Support Hub originated about 4 or 5 years ago. Sally Bowden set it up, and then we officially launched it at the ISBL National Conference last month. And it's basically a support hub. It's not a network, it's not a professional body, it's not a professional association. It's basically, it's there for you when you need it. And you might not know when you're going to need it, but it might be that you need something about an issue that you've got within school, maybe to do with your ICFP. You can't quite remember a metric, or you think that this is telling you something, but that's not the context that you know behind it. So you could connect with somebody who would be able to provide you some oversight. But then there's also that well-being aspect to it as well. And maybe, it is a lonely role. There tends to be only one person in an organization doing that role. And it's quite a misunderstood role as well, as we can see from that DFE survey. But there are people that do understand it. And so SBL Support Hub has got a whole load of ISBL fellows that are there ready and waiting to support any school business leader, whether that's head of IT, head of estates, head of HR, not just the normal, as it were, school business manager or school business leader, but all those non-curriculum staff who are leading within a school setting. We're here to support them.
And so, what are some of the things that you think have been coming up in the work you're doing as real challenges this term?
There's just so much going on, as always. There's so much to read, there's so much to take in, and a lot of people don't stop. They work too long hours or over their contracted hours just to try and get the work done, especially at this time of year when everybody's moving towards Christmas. It is lovely and it's joyous in a school, but by the end of it, you think, you just collapse in a heap with a glass of sherry or whatever.
It's basically volume of work, isn't it? And that we're stretched. And it's a bit like we're a rubber band. We're already stretched. And then at this time of year, we have to stretch a bit more, give a bit more. And that can be quite exhausting and tiring. The challenges that I'm hearing when I speak to school business leaders is that never-ending demands placed on them with less and less resource. It does feel like everyone's in the same position about that. And there's almost like a reluctance and an acceptance that that's the situation. We just have to make do. And so the challenge is also keeping the momentum and that hope going that it will get better. And I think that's actually a challenge when we've already got a stretched rubber band within us. But our resilience and our ability to bounce back from the challenges can be less. And I think that's where SBL Support Hub would just be a friendly ear to listen to and to signpost you to maybe somebody else who might need that. And then there's also, Emma was talking about the volume of documents that you have to read and the timing of these documents when they come out and things like that. And part of SBL Support Hub is also having Wiki SBL, which will be facts and not thought pieces, but very factual, how you can respond, how you deal with ICFP, maybe how you consider procuring something. And then that's something that all school business leaders can again then access. And hopefully we'll take some of the pressure off. Someone else has already done a bit of thinking and a bit of reading and then has interpreted it from other people.
There is a lot, isn't there, I wonder, on the shoulders often of school business leaders, or they're the ones who are always having to look out for the risks. Here are the things that could go wrong. Here is how we have to mitigate for things. So I wonder if sometimes that makes it harder to perhaps experience that hope and optimism that you need in order to stay resilient.
My answer to that is instantly go out into the school and just stand, even if you just stand in a corridor. Sometimes you just remember why you're doing it. I mean, I worked in 2 to 19, so I have stood surrounded by teenagers massively taller than me as they all came out of class, and at the same time being mown down by very small people. And it's that I think keeps everybody going, because it does sound a bit soft, but they are the energy behind us, I think. And what school business leaders fail to realise is the impact they are having on those young people, however old. They are impacting their lives for the better, and they are another adult in the life of these young people that really contribute to them and their growth and their development and their well-being and their education. So my answer to when you're feeling a little bit low is go and stand at the back of a classroom or in a corridor or just in the playground or in the middle of the field and just watch what they're doing. It is incredible. And I moved into consultancy over a year ago now, and that's one thing I really, really miss is being part of that energy. I could talk about it for ages, but yeah, that's where you need to be if you're feeling like it's all getting on top of you.
And I think one of the things you've both been doing this term and you found quite eye-opening, you're still engaged in, as well as delivering training, receiving training, was operational excellence. So yeah, for those who don't live and breathe school business leadership, what is operational excellence and how is it making a difference?
But yeah, I am really pleased to have been accredited as a strategic practitioner of operational excellence. So operational excellence has been around for quite a long time. We sort of picture a Japanese car manufacturer using lean systems and operational excellence to really quality assure what's coming out. What comes out is right first time. And it's done in the smoothest, least friction, least waste way possible. And ISBL have translated that manufacturing ethos, as it were, into something that's suitable for education, because it's a similar sort of approach. If you take away the waste and the friction and the difficulties and some of just the time spent doing stuff that doesn't need to be done or isn't important, you will inevitably become more efficient. And then the important and inevitable step on that is that you start to improve pupil outcomes. So operational excellence starts with the understanding that we are all there to improve pupil outcomes. And if you go in with a mindset to eliminate waste and to make processes smoother and more efficient, then everything starts to move more smoothly and it frees up time. Again, we go back to those things that we would like to be doing. If we weren't rushing around, an example, which is often given, is if you've got a finance team who are receiving orders from numerous budget holders, some are on paper, some are on email, some have just been stopped in the corridor. And then inevitably the finance officers have got to go to work out what it was the budget holder wanted and which code it should go to, and then order it. And the whole thing really, really slows up. If you can make a system which everybody follows, which is straightforward, easy to input, goods received come really quickly, you're then freeing up 2-3 people's time to be doing other things. I mean, they might then be going on to do other finance things, but they're not wasting their time on stuff that is relatively easy to be improved.
And in that example, Emma, there's also the opportunity for so many errors to happen, aren't there? You know, that you forgot that when someone spoke to you in the corridor that they wanted 10 glue sticks. You didn't remember till 2 days later, but they actually wanted the glue sticks by the following Monday. So you've then created a bigger issue. So I think it's that process mapping and then identifying where there are weaknesses and trying to make it better. And yes, I know that there will be some people that just like saying that I'm walking from here to there and I saw you and I want those glue sticks, so I'm going to ask you there and then. But we wouldn't go into a classroom or a staff room and say, we need you to do X, Y, and Z whilst you're in the middle of doing another piece of work. So I think that process mapping is then an opportunity to then ask the team, because they're experiencing what the problems are. So and it's not just the finance team, it might be from the teacher's point of view. Actually, it's not very clear how you procure things within a school from a teacher's point of view, especially from a recently qualified teacher's point of view. You know, how do they go about ordering stuff? I just think it enables, as well as the process to be better, but just for people to have a better experience of school. And I think it's also an opportunity to respond to audit reports, internal scrutiny reports and things like that. It's like, how are we going to solve that problem? Okay, we could actually apply some OPEX tools to try and resolve that problem that's been identified in audit. And then this is how we're going to make those changes within our school.
I think I'm particularly like about OPEX is that you can start really, really small. You don't have to think, right, I'm going to change the world overnight. The tiniest thing that an individual does will have an impact. And there's that saying, I saw recently, if you think you're too small to have an impact, try going to bed with a mosquito. The smallest thing you can do will then start to the spread out. And as Helen said, it needs to be something that your whole setting becomes involved with. But starting out with the small things and saying, this is operational excellence. It might feel like a small thing to you, but this is what it looks like. How do we continue on with this? And if everybody started doing a little bit, all of a sudden it would be game changing for the whole sector, I'm sure. So there is a lot of potential in operational excellence, and there is now training, which you can do. You can start small and just do one day of training, or you can go further like I did and done the strategic, and Helen, I know, is doing the same thing, because we want to share the mindset and the framework with other school business leaders.
Fantastic. Thank you. So that sounds like something that's got lots of potential to offer. So what are you looking forward to in 2026? What do you feel like 2026 is going to bring for you professionally, for the sector?
I'm hoping to complete a coaching qualification. I think that would be really good. And I've done a lot of CPD already this year. Like Emma was saying, the operational excellence training. I do enjoy learning. I do enjoy thinking about what next and how to get there. So from that point of view, I want to do more of the same, because I've really been enjoying what I've been doing and having that positive influence on other school business leaders.
Amazing. Thank you, Helen. Emma, how about you?
This is going to sound really nice, but I've really enjoyed working with Helen, and we've had a lot of fun. We've done training together, and really supporting each other through these early days. Or I hope I've been supporting Helen as much as she's been supporting me. And, the opportunities out there for networking and building relationships are just huge. And I'm grateful every day for that network. I know it can sound a bit naff, but I am. And having that sort of partnership with Helen that we've built up, and Risky Business and the SBL retreat, and we did our working lunch, and all these ideas that flash around when we're together and with others, you included, Liz, really make me enthusiastic. And as Helen said, that hope for the sector in the future, I think that really keeps me going, knowing that others are out there with the same enthusiasm, advocacy, and hope for the future of our role.
It's wonderful that you both are encouraging talent and skills and giving people confidence. There's so many fantastic people out there, aren't there, with skills and things to share.
And actually, one of those things, Liz, is to encourage school business leaders to find their voice. And one of the things about our Risky Business, as you'll know, because you went to the one in Bath, is that it's not just Emma and I talking. There's other school business leaders that are talking. And actually, when we take it around the country in 2026, it's going to be really fantastic to give people that don't normally have the opportunity to speak publicly, even if it's, only for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, to make that first step, because I know that can be quite overwhelming for some people. But with a little bit of support, I'm hoping that we're going to be able to help some people find their public speaking voice.
Okay, so what's on your Christmas list in terms of something to read or inspire, or what would you recommend for someone if I've got some time for some Christmas reading or listening?
So Emma's obviously going to get a glass of sherry, and I'm not going to have a glass of sherry, but I will be reading Alison Edgar's Smash It book. So she spoke at the ISBL National Conference in November, and it was really well received. It was really great. I actually won a book from her, and I've got about 50 pages in, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm already talking to people about the tips that are in there. So I just feel that it's more than just a book. There's definite tools in there to use.
I'm on a similar vein. I had the privilege of listening to Sabrina Cohen-Hatton talk, and I downloaded her book, Gender Bias. She was very impactful. And I think she came off the back of an event I went to run by a Mosaic Partnership Trust. I'm sure they won't mind me shouting them out, because they got together a group of schools, and they invited other people to come along and listen to Katrina O'Sullivan speak. And she was incredible. She had a similar sort of story, not exactly the same, but a similar sort of story to Sabrina. But the two of them together, having listened to them both speak, really, really shows the impact, as we were talking before, shows the impact of adults in the room, because they both were there standing on the stage talking about their experiences, because of the people that they had met through their education and the impact that these people had had just by caring and taking notice and thinking a little bit ahead as to what they might need. That what do you need? A conversation opener. So not so much of why are you messing about or why you've not come in clean socks. What do you need right now is such a powerful opening to a conversation with the smallest child, because they will know what it is they need. Katrina O'Sullivan wrote a book called Poor, which I have already encouraged a few people to read in schools, and had some really great feedback from that as well.
You just reminded me of Maya Angelou and what she said about, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
And anyone can be that person, whether you're the school business manager, the teacher, the dinner lady,
The
estate manager.
caretaker.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I haven't asked you, Liz, what's coming up in your life? What's happening in creating value in schools next year?
Well,
Yes.
that's a good question. I think if I bit like you, I'm looking forward to doing more of the same, more talking to people, more hearing about what people are up to, and then out of that, creating more resources, training opportunities, things that people then can go away and put into practice, things to inspire people, give ideas, give that information. And how can I stay resilient, positive, keep going?
Sounds good. And Liz, what book are you going to be reading or podcast are you going to be listening to whilst you sip your glass of sherry?
In terms of things to read, I feel I have been quite inspired by various people I've talked to recently. So, for example, I was talking to Paul K. Ainsworth. This is going to be another upcoming podcast episode about the book Come What May by Lucy Easthope, which sounds really exciting. I have just started rereading Oliver Burkeman's 4,000 Weeks because I love that book, and I think it is just he makes you think about time, productivity, all that pressure to get things done in a different way.
Sounds good. I think it sounds like I need to get that book.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am still reading, slowly dipping into the Tim Smedley book, The Last Drop, which is just all about what's happening with water around the world. And it just keeps coming up in so many conversations, or so much in the news, places in drought, places in flood. I did the water literacy training recently. So again, that's made me more aware of a lot of that too. So I will continue with that.
Sounds brilliant.
Well, yes, it's been fantastic to chat, and look forward to seeing what comes next in 2026.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you.
Brilliant.